Hi Scrappy Sewers! This is an educational video on how to do an introductory enclosed French seam. An enclosed French seam has part of the fabric of the seam allowance on the outside of the garment as visual interest. It's very similar to a French seam with the exception of how you start the seam. You're going to start by sewing two pieces of fabric together with the right sides facing at a little less than 1/2 of the allowed seam allowance. So if your seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch, you're going to start by sewing the two pieces together with the right sides together at 1/4 of an inch. Be sure to backstitch. You're then going to take this to the iron and press it very well. Press it open and to either side. Once you've done that, you will have something that looks like this. It's very important that you press it open very well. Your next step is to fold the fabric together with the wrong sides together and stitch it at the remaining amount of the allowed seam allowance. So if your seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch and we used 1/4 of an inch for the first seam, you're going to sew the second seam at 3/8 of an inch. Be sure to backstitch carefully so that your back stitching will not show beyond whatever the seam allowance amount is on this side. When you're finished, you will have a seam that has the seam allowance as a decorative visual interest on the outside of the garment. You're going to want to press this to one side or the other, but pay attention to your pattern pieces so you are consistent with which direction you are allowing the seam allowance to lay down.